change in the fundraising sector has never been greater. But innovations in technology are evolving faster than our ability to understand them. Are these advances good or bad? Do they have unintended consequences? And what is the application to the global fundraising sector? That's what we're here to find out. Welcome to the Fundraising AI podcast, your up-to-date resource for responsible AI for the global fundraising community, hosted by Nathan Chappell and Scott Rosenkrantz.
All right, we're here. Scott's going to start yelling and Mallory's all set to go. And exciting to be here. Hey, it's another episode of the Fundraising AI podcast.
Yeah.
Live on the road.
Our first international episode.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. That's exciting.
That's a big deal. I'm excited to be a part of it.
And our favorite person.
Yay.
Yes.
So Mallory
Hands
Erickson
down.
is here to join us. So I'm Nathan Chappell. I'm here with Scott Rosenkrantz and Mallory Erickson on episode 14 of the Fundraising AI podcast. Super exciting to be here. We are at AFP Icon in Toronto. So to Scott's point, our first international conference. And Mallory, our favorite person in the whole world. I think we may have said that to our previous guests, but this time we actually mean it. Like this is
Hopefully the previous guests aren't watching.
right. Yeah.
Just
right,
skip over
right.
this episode.
Right. Yeah. So for those that don't know, Mallory and I met we met before probably, but a year ago at this conference is when our work together started in full blown. So it was at
That's
the AFP Icon last year. And I think Mallory probably unknowingly signed up to volunteer, quote unquote, volunteer.
And that's the word.
She felt moved to do something and didn't know what that meant. And it was after a fundraising AI meeting where she came up and said, "I want to help," and probably has regretted that for
Not at all.
every second. For those that don't know, fundraising AI is really coming to fruition in a huge part because of all of the work and professionalism and creativity that Mallory has put into this effort. And I mean, honestly, unsung hero in so many ways and has brought all of this to life. So it's been so exciting.
We wouldn't be here if it weren't for you on this podcast.
Because I'm here.
Yes. Yeah. A couple of steps back. Yeah.
But I know it's been such a joy to get to work with you and to help build this. And I feel really honored to be involved and to be a part of something so meaningful and important and timely. So thanks for believing in me.
It's awesome. Well, let's get into it, Mallory, because I know you have a really successful podcast and a successful business, and talk about that a little bit and your journey, because I love the orientation from being a fundraiser and kind of hating fundraising. And then now you help in fundraiser enablement, burnout. And I want you to talk about your book. I think that's really helpful because a lot of people that listen to fundraising AI podcasts now that we're hearing from don't have a technology background.
Mm-hmm.
They're just essentially like, a lot of those are fundraisers that are like, wait, my world, someone moved my cheese. My world is changing. Is this good or bad? I don't really know. So go ahead and introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your background, definitely give a plug for your book, which I think would be awesome. And I know there's construction going on behind us. So hopefully we're just going to keep on powering through here.
This is live.
Live on the road.
It's very glamorous. Yeah. So, okay. Thank you. So my work, I have been a nonprofit managing director, executive director, program director. I've spent my entire career in this sector, and like so many people, became an accidental fundraiser as a part of that role. And I
love
really
that term, accidental fundraiser. I think a lot of people can resonate with that.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I think I didn't even call myself a fundraiser for years when I was fundraising, because I was never formally trained in it, but it was a big part of my responsibility. And I hated fundraising. Yeah. I was really uncomfortable. I felt like everybody understood something that I didn't understand. I felt like there was this hidden language and way of being and rules that nobody was letting me sort of in on the secret. And even though I was seeing success, I felt like I was a bad fundraiser, because there was no way that good fundraisers were uncomfortable or wanted to throw up before a donor meeting. And then I ended up I hit a really serious kind of burnout phase in my own life. I developed chronic pain, and I was like, I don't think I can keep doing this anymore. Like, if this is what leadership in the nonprofit sector looks like, I think like I have to find another pathway. And as a part of that, ended up going through executive coach certification. I got trained in habit and behavior design and design thinking. None of those things were connected to my fundraising, but I was frontline fundraising at the same time. And I started to fuse those frameworks together in my own work, and it transformed the way that I fundraised. And it had huge financial implications, but more than anything, I started to love fundraising. And so that's, I mean, the work that I do today sort of centers around that. I have a program called the Power Partners Formula, the podcast, What the Fundraising. I do a lot of interviewing of psychologists, behavioral scientists, therapists, really trying to understand the interconnection between who we are and what we do. And so I have friends who say, everybody else focuses on the fundraising, you focus on the fundraiser. And I think that's true because I believe good fundraising happens through the fundraiser. So how that relates to all of this is that, like, yes, AI is an incredible tool that has the ability to optimize our time, make us more efficient, help us take off one of the many, many hats that we're wearing. And I know what it's like to be a frontline fundraiser who felt overwhelmed by every new tech development, that felt like I was barely staying above water. And so, like, how could I take on or learn one more thing, no matter how easy it was? And so I wanted to be involved because I see AI right at the center of fundraiser enablement and overwhelm. And I want to help fundraisers get over the action line to make their lives easier, to make their lives better, and know how to sort of like mitigate maybe the fear and overwhelm that comes with tech adoption.
Awesome.
So do you feel if you went back to fundraising now, you would feel more comfortable in that space after doing all this work that you've done?
So I did. So basically, after I did all that work, I started to apply those frameworks. I started to love fundraising. I had no desire to become a consultant. I was like, okay, I've got it. And actually, I took my role down to 15 hours a week at the same organization, raising the same amount of money because I was just so efficient with my time. And so because I was like, oh, I get it now. I get what to prioritize. I feel empowered and confident. I'm not wasting my time on things that don't work, like all of it. And so I had no desire to sort of start to teach it. But when the pandemic hit, there was this sort of like mass conversation across the sector around it's inappropriate to fundraise right now unless you were fundraising directly for COVID relief. And I was like, no, people can't stop. Like, people can't stop fundraising. But I could see and feel the paralysis, the overwhelm, the guilt, the shame that people felt talking about anything other than COVID.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I have to help people stay in action. And so there was, like, at the very beginning of COVID, people were offering like free concerts, free trainings. And so I was just like, okay, how can I help the nonprofit sector? So I threw up like a Google form and I was like, I'll group coach people around fundraising fear. And I was in some free Facebook groups at the time. And I like threw the Google form up there and I was like, hey, here's what I do in my work. And if you want to come on Monday at noon, I'll coach you around your fundraising fears and resistance that you're feeling. I posted this on Friday. I had no childcare. I had an 8-month-old at home. Okay. I had a job, a full-time job. And I went to bed. I woke up and 180 people had signed up. And I was like, oh. And I literally like remember walking out to the kitchen with my husband and being like, I think I need to buy a Zoom account. Like, I was just like, and I think I have to learn how to make a webinar. Like, I was just like, I can't approach 180 people. So I have to figure out a different way to teach these tools and skills so that they can do this themselves. And so that was sort of like the beginning. And then the request for me to sort of do more and support fundraisers more. I tried to manage that with my frontline fundraising that I was really enjoying. But it just became too much. And I finally started doing this full time.
How long ago was that?
2021.
That's amazing. You have built a community, you built a brand, you've helped so many people. I mean, I just see like this like rocket ship of success. So it's awesome. And we'll plug your book later because I want to end with like the juicy nugget there. I don't know how you're balancing all this with a new baby at home and another, just a whole budding family and everything. So I'm so curious around your orientation around technology, because I met you as an influencer, as this person that was really more on the behavioral science side of things and really all that nerdy stuff, but I didn't meet you as a technologist or someone that was like known to be like this early adopter that just like loves to like push the envelope and try new things. So when you came to the Fundraising AI meeting, was it an expectation that I want to get involved? Was it just like, I'm curious about this thing, or what I'm curious about the intersection between technology and fundraiser burnout? So like, what kind of drove your initial kind of inquiry into the space? And did you predict that that there would be this alignment at all?
I think my answer is probably going to disappoint you, but basically Woodrow Rosenbaum, who's the chief data officer at Giving Tuesday, for folks who don't know, was like, you need to be at this meeting. And I was like, okay.
All right. Well, good.
And so I really didn't know what to expect.
Right.
He knew that I was trying to influence technology conversations around how we look at fundraiser behavior in relationship to the technology, that I feel like most of the technology companies in our space and sort of how we measure fundraising effectiveness in general is all related to the donor's behavior with that technology. And I'm really interested in the fundraiser's behavior with that technology, because I think that actually is going to give us the best predictor of ultimately like what happens, and sort of wanting to switch the conversation from the lagging indicator around money to the leading indicator around fundraiser behavior. So I think he was sort of saying like, this is an important conversation and piece to that puzzle that you've been exploring.
Okay.
And so that's what brought me there.
So you take orders well.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm always like, just tell me what to do.
And also you can't say no. So like, sign me
You're
up.
airing all my dirty laundry.
We said we would. We would cover all this. Yeah. So first off, thanks Woodrow, I think, for bringing you into our circle. But what's been the most exciting thing over that last year for you, as you've kind of gone through and seen it from just that meeting at AFP Icon last year to what it is now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel really lucky to sort of like oscillate back and forth between the tech space and the nonprofits themselves. Like, I think I try to keep myself like at the micro and the macro level simultaneously. And it's been really like amazing to watch kind of like the tracks of this journey in terms of like what the technology space is talking about versus sort of what that means for the frontline fundraiser at a small organization on the ground. I think, look, as somebody who has never been an early tech adopter, as somebody who like literally, I remember when Snapchat came out, I downloaded it on my phone. My husband was using it all the time. Downloaded it on my phone. I opened it and I was like freaked out and I deleted it. Like I spent literally 3 seconds. I was like, this is not for me. And that is sort of like, I mean, even people who are listening to this, who know me, who are on my like email list, like I have tech challenges constantly. It is like the area of every time I want to close my business, it's because of a tech thing. And so I am definitely somebody who like has a lot of tech trauma, a lot of fear around technology, a lot of apprehension around the intersection of like who I am and how I use technology. But I have found in my business, like, especially like in the world we're in, of course, that is so tech forward, but also that's so like asynchronous, and where we're looking for ways to connect with people in real meaningful ways asynchronously, that technology enables that in a way like nothing else. And so now it's so interesting. We'll say like, I love the tech tools you use in your business. And it's like, what I'm really looking for are ways to connect with people in an asynchronous way. Yeah, I'm the mom of 2 small kids. I like try to really have good like work-life synergy and be present in all the areas of my life. And that means I'm not going to respond to an email on a weekend, or I'm not going to jump into a meeting when people are doing something at 9 a.m. on a Saturday, but I will send you a little personalized video about what I think about it so that you'll still get that touch from me, or I'll still sort of welcome you in this way. And so I think what for me with AI, what's really exciting about it, I've learned so much from Nathan about the importance of like predictive AI. And my big thing with fundraisers is like what I sort of shared at the beginning is like, stop wasting time. How do we stop wasting time? How do we stop doing things that aren't moving the needle forward, that are distracting us? And I think there's a lot of different ways to think about that, from like the shiny object syndrome. But I think predictive AI really helps us like narrow that in terms of who we're talking to, how we're talking to them, and creating more like personalized and actionable engagement opportunities, and sort of just making sure we're not just like out there shining a big like strobe light and being like, anyone want to come to our party? And so like I really see like predictive AI as like the laser, being like, hey, we're over here, we're talking to you. Do you want to be a part of this in this way? So I love that. And then on the generative AI side, I mean, I use that so much in my own business. And I think that has the ability for the nonprofit leader who's like wearing way too many hats. A lot of the too many hats fall into the things that generative AI does.
Exactly.
And so it's interesting to me, the fear that people have around AI taking their job, because I'm like, what if it just took like 5 of your hats? Like you still have like 4 more that AI is never going to take. Exactly. So like you're wearing 9 hats, like 5 of them, generative AI can actually take off your plate. Your job's not going anywhere because you
probably don't like those 5 hats anyway.
Exactly. And so exactly. And so that's been cool to like watch and hear stories about how the roles are transforming because of that. And so it was a long answer, but
no, that's awesome actually. And we're not going to be able to solve all the problems today, but I think aligned with your work, and Scott has a master's in psychology. And so I love how his approach in AI has really been from that perspective too, like what drives donor behavior.
Right.
And that's where like most of our ML machine learning work has been really driven by quantifying connection, not wealth. And so it's been really informative. So, but if you were, I guess, giving some advice to like the average person, Scott and I are doing a session later today. One of the slides is basically a person looking at the sky with like a million questions in their head. Like, is this good? Is it bad? AI, is it good? Is it bad? Is it going to take my job? Is it going to replace my job? Is it going to change my job? Am I supposed to be excited about it? Am I supposed to be afraid of it? Like if you had to give maybe one piece of advice or one or two pieces of advice for a fundraiser who is waking up today saying, my cheese has moved. Like the world will never be the same. It is fundamentally different today. And today is the worst that AI will ever be. What advice would you give them?
I think like two things really quick based on sort of that, even that list of questions alone is like, one, none of those answers are binary. Like AI is not good or bad. The question is like how, when, and so like nothing is binary. So the moment you find yourself getting trapped in the, is it good or evil, or is it this or that, then we're already in the wrong space.
Right.
Love that.
The other piece is get curious, like, because it's not binary, get curious about like, how could AI improve this one area in which I'm really struggling? Like you and I have talked about this a lot. One of the things that drives me bananas in sort of the attention that AI has been getting is when nonprofit leaders start being like, I need to find some good AI. And I'm like, that is not the point. Like, that is not the point. The point is there is this tool that can solve these problems that are keeping you up at night, that are dragging you down, leading to burnout, leading to chronic stress. And so I think it's like, start with the problem and then get curious about what solutions are out there that help you solve that problem. And my guess is that today, those solutions often, if not always, include some version of AI.
Right. I love that. We're going to borrow that for our presentation later.
Yeah. I already,
Thank
it's
you.
in there now. It's in my
Just gave me
notes.
all the notes. That's perfect.
So when you were back as an accidental fundraiser, if Gen AI was a tool, what would be the main way you would be using that kickstart way?
Oh my God. I honestly, okay, I know. Let me like try to think about what I would do first. I think there's so many applications that are important. I mean, this is very little in terms of its impact, but when I think about the time suck for me, it was big. Would like grant applications and word count. That killed me, especially as somebody who's neurodivergent, like having to sort of manipulate the way we talk about things to 250 characters. And then on the next application, 500 characters, and the next application, 750 characters, and just like all that editing and refinement. And you can create your sort of like grant template, but then all of the refinement was so challenging for me. That would have been like one of the first applications. I think it would have cut down my grant submission times to probably like 1/30th of like what I spent before, just by doing something like that alone. Including all the overthinking that happens when we start to like, when we start to do that. So I think that's like one thing. I also think I use ChatGPT a lot to be a sounding board for me. So like when I've like created a piece of content or I've created an argument around something, I ask it to give me feedback. Like, where are holes? What feels cheesy? What feels disingenuous? Where would you get, like, where do you think trust might be broken here?
Totally.
Like, and I have it pointed because I'm very interested in like the psychology of both trust, but also distrust.
Right.
And so I think I really use it as like a thought partner for me.
As an antagonist.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Which is smart.
Exactly. I have it come up like what I would do if I was going into a donor meeting, I'd feed it a bunch of information about the funder and about my organization. I'd say, I'm going into a meeting about a grant proposal related to X, Y, and Z. Ask me 10 questions. I'd practice for meetings with donors with those questions. So I think it like anything you need that you're like, I wish there was somebody who could help me with blank, there's probably an AI tool for it.
And especially with the voice chat. So it's not even like you have to type your response, because that's not how you would interact with a potential donor. You can act as if it is another person sitting across the table from you and go through scenario after scenario after scenario.
Yeah. I sent Nathan a photo like a few months ago, maybe now, about us using ChatGPT with my 4-year-old. And we let her do it with voice. We let her ask questions. We have very interesting images of like a full Maleficent band, but we let her like design things, have it generate pictures. And we've done it in Spanish and English and start to see the difference between what it generates depending on the language she's speaking. So I think that opens up just so much, because we want her to not think about technology as something that sort of like takes away her curiosity or her critical thinking, but something that enhances it. And so we want her to start to play in that way and like think about it in that way.
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting because like the use cases that you just shared from the fundraiser, but even with your daughter, like these aren't even use cases a year ago that we would have even thought about. And to think I'm just like reflecting on the last 18 months or whatever, that LLMs have been in a part of our everyday life. Our thought of like using LLM to be an antagonist is like kind of, I mean, it's subtle, but it's like revolutionary. Like, I mean, we used to spend so much time in fundraising. I'd be like, okay, I need all my people around in a room, and we're gonna like go through all the questions this donor might or might not ask us, and we're gonna rehearse and whatever. I mean, those meetings cost us thousands of dollars per hour based on salaries alone, and like took up so much people's time. And things that you're sharing are so practical and actually at everyone's disposal. And again, going back to your idea that the use of AI is not binary, that I think you can get over that fear of it's not good or evil, that it's a tool. And the hat analogy is great too. So as we wrap up today, I want to make sure that we do two things. I want to plug your book because I've been like cheering you on behind of just like sending you moral support. I can't believe how much you manage. Like you are like the master multitasker of all multitaskers. And so I want you to plug that for sure. Cause that's huge body of work and exciting to put it out there and probably a little nerve wracking because I've been through that.
Yes.
You share so much wisdom with the community and then also how people get in touch with you. I want to make sure that they know about your podcast and how to log into it and follow your work because I think it's so different and meaningful for the sector.
Thank you. And you are the reason I'm writing the book because I had kicked that can for 18 months and you were like, just do it. And I was like, I'm just going to do it.
Amazing.
Yes. So both the book and the podcast are both called What the Fundraising. And as I said, I've used the podcast sort of as my like learning lab since 2021. Interviewing psychologists and therapists and behavioral scientists, trying to apply their research to fundraisers, because there's a lot of that research around donors, but not a lot of it around fundraisers. And so through that exploration, I started to really discover this link between what's happening inside our brains and bodies and how we show up as fundraisers, and then how that directly impacts our results. So things like how thought patterns, critical thought patterns impact our nervous system that lead to chronic stress and burnout. And then when we're in chronic stress and burnout, we can't make decisions, we can't take action, we can't build authentic relationships. And so these things that we're asking fundraisers to do all the time become like biologically inhibited by the state of being that the sector designs for. And so the book starts to really look at the history of the nonprofit sector that has led to these really entrenched scarcity mindset beliefs that have led to these really entrenched transactional ways that we fundraise. And those transactional ways in the book, I talk about that we're seeing these two crises in the sector. Giving crisis better than anyone, and this mass burnout and leaving of the sector. And my argument is that those are not different problems. And that they're both caused by these transactional ways that we fundraise that lead to both fundraiser and donor discomfort. The donors stop giving and the fundraiser discomfort moves from discomfort to dysregulation to chronic stress to burnout. And then we can no longer take the actions that build connected relationships. So that's sort of the problem that's set up in the book. And then I go through my framework for what I call alignment fundraising and how I use executive coaching tools to both prevent that decline, but also interrupt some of that chatter that often exacerbates the problem.
When is it coming out?
It's coming out September 15th, 2024.
Soon.
Yeah.
Here before you know.
Yeah. So it's exciting. And I'm going to keep obviously the podcast continues. And every time I have an episode, I'm like, I just interviewed a fear researcher. And I was like, that should have been in there and that should have been in there. But there's just, what I hope is that the book starts a conversation. I don't think it's the end of this. Like I said to somebody last night, I was like, I hope this book inspires real researchers to do this research. But I hope it really starts a bigger conversation around like, what does it really look like to enable the people behind the purpose inside our organization. So I'm really excited. And you can connect with me. MalloryErickson.com is my website. You can find me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Yeah.
All the good stuff. Cool. Yeah. All right. Scott, close us out.
Yeah. Well, what comes out 2 weeks after the book? Just a quick
Oh, yeah, right. The Fundraising AI Global Summit,
Yes.
2 weeks after the book. I like to have big falls.
I love it. Like, you just like to bundle all the stuff like within a short period of time.
Yeah, ADHD has its perks. But yes, the Global Fundraising AI Global Summit, go to fundraising.ai/summit to sign up today. That will be 2 weeks later. And I cannot wait. It actually seems like the most appropriate fusion of things in my life. So
Will be the largest, fundraising AI summit because I think it's the only, but we're expecting 10,000 people. We have amazing sponsors that we're going to be announcing very, very soon. And a brand that if you want to talk about, this will be like, it's brand new. It's going to be a new theme for this year. You want to share what it is?
Sure. Yes. So this year's conference is called Generate Good. And we are really honored to get to work with the Community Boost team to help put it on to really create an interactive and community forward virtual experience about, I think, Nathan, really inspired by you moving the way that we're talking about things from just responsible AI to responsible and beneficial AI. We want to make sure that it's beneficial to the world, that's beneficial to the sector, and for me, beneficial to fundraisers. Mm-hmm. So everything that's there is we're going to cut through the noise and really give you applicable tools, case studies, workshops that help you take action, get over the action line, and start to move the needle on this giving crisis.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, Mallory, thanks for joining us.
Thanks
this has been great. Thanks for everybody for listening and liking and subscribing and hopefully not stopping after 14 episodes.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's been so rewarding at Icon, even hearing from people that are listening to the podcast and how it's like they don't like other podcasts, but they've been listening to it. So I love the feedback, and we'll put all the links in the show notes so that you can know how to get in touch with Mallory and pre-order her book as soon as it goes on Amazon and sign up for Fundraising AI. All good stuff, Mallory. We love you. You are the best. You are like the wind beneath the Fundraising AI wings, and wouldn't be here without you. So, all right. Take care, everyone.